one of the important things that we decided as a family was that we wanted to celebrate Tamarra's life, and Tamarra wanted the same thing. So it was important to us to celebrate her life rather than focus on essentially the fact that she was dying from cancer. So what we did is we had an amazing photographer come to the hospice that Tamarra was staying in, and she decided to look past the uncomfortableness of it and celebrate the life with us. Jody Renee, she came to the hospice and donated some of her time, and she created these amazing pieces of art that showcased Tamarra. This is my hand and Tamarra's hand, and these are my tattoo, and she had that tattoo, and we're holding hands. This picture was taken maybe 2 days before she passed away, and we wanted to have these memories of her and her strength, and we wanted to showcase them in the house somehow. They sit in our home, and they represent the strength that Tamarra had going through this, and the bravery, and why Tamarra Cherryholme Foundation needs to exist, because of her strength and her wanting other kids to have an opportunity.
So no practitioner can ever make any claim to cure. There's a lot of stuff on the internet that patients read. They come in for their visit and they're already on 600 different supplements that they may have read could cure their cancer. But it's very important to note that no practitioner can ever make any claim to cure. We can do our best to manage the whole person, manage the disease, improve their quality of life, and I think that's what we're best at doing as naturopathic doctors. So heal, yeah, and part of it is healing the patient as a whole and not just treating the disease, healing the person as a whole from all aspects. I mean, but the word cure, I think a lot of patients come in and they're sort of expecting to hear that. Can you cure my cancer? What's my prognosis? And you can't really comment on that. They say, well, my doctor says I have 4 weeks left. What do you think about that? Well, you don't really think anything about that, because we have patients here that were told 4 weeks or 2 weeks, and 5 years later they're still around and their quality of life is good.
So here we are, and she's diagnosed with cancer, an undifferentiated sarcoma, essentially. So they weren't able to decipher what type of cancer she has. It was quite isolated. She was assessed throughout her entire body, and there was no other cancer evident in her body except for this solid tumor. They were unable to do surgery and remove it with surgery because of its location and the size of it. It was too risky, so that wasn't an option. So once we started with some rehabilitation after she started to get her small movements back after the shunt and the swelling went down, we started slowly with walking and standing and just very basic baby steps. But she, in order for her to get around, it had to be in a wheelchair. She just didn't have the energy to walk from her bed down to the hallway, so it was very, very slow. Then she recovered quite quickly from that. She really bounced back. Then we started radiation. So we did the traditional route of radiation. Radiation, once was completed, that was where we were going to end it. Then when we went in for a follow-up, they threw at us that they think that the best plan of action is chemo. And you're in this position as a parent, and you have your child who is doing good, and the doctors and the professionals suggest to carry the treatment forward, just to make sure that we attack any maybe residual cancer in the body, which, you know, they're speaking and I'm hearing and I'm thinking, okay, that makes sense. But the back of my head is saying, I don't want her to do this. I don't feel comfortable with her doing chemo. And Tamarra was quite devastated and wanted no part of chemo. She was just 17-year-old girl. She has this beautiful head of hair, and she's getting her strength back. And after the radiation, the tumor had shrunk to minimal scar tissue remaining, and you know, we were doing good. But we went with what was suggested and went with the chemo. And no one really can say, except for, you know, our God, what could have, would have, should have. As a mother, my opinion is that chemo was a mistake. It was our first mistake. I really should have listened and went with my gut. One of the side effects that, you know, as any type of protocol or surgery is implemented on a patient, the doctors and the professionals have to explain to you what the risks are. That's legal, and that's part of it. And one of the side effects of chemo is a secondary chemo, a secondary cancer. You know, when you're hearing these things and you're listening and you're present, but you've got so many different things going on in your head, and it's all happening so fast. So Tamarra went and she did her chemo protocol, and she completed it with a lot of complications that chemo gives you, and illness and sick. After she was finishing her chemo and coming to an end, we found out that my dad was diagnosed with lung cancer. In that time frame, so we're in June, July, we had just found out that my dad was not going to survive from his cancer. My dad passed away August 27th, 2010. We had his memorial service September 18th, and on September 21st, or the 22nd, we were given the news that Tamarra's cancer has now spread into her brain, and it's still in her spinal fluids, and the radiation subsided growth, but it didn't eradicate. It's still present, and now it's in her brain, and we're basically, there's nothing that we can do at this point. So I had just lost my dad, and Tamarra was, you know, quite upset about that, and we learned that this is kind of where we're at with her, and we just have to make the best of it. I mean, she wanted me to understand that this is her fate and that she is going to die from cancer, and she had expressed that to me earlier throughout the time of treatment and time of her progression of her disease affecting her. And so what we wanted to do, we decided, hey, let's just try to make quality of life. Okay, you're here now, let's enjoy it while you're here. You're not sick, you're able to do stuff and function and get out and enjoy. So that's what we did. And we decided, well, let's just go see a naturopathic doctor, and you know, let's just go see what they say. So we were recommended or referred to an ND about a half an hour from here, and we're in Brantford, and she decided that she wanted to try some IV treatments on Tamarra, and we did. And when Tamarra was receiving these treatments, I was amazed by the change in her. Even though the cancer was so aggressive in her, and she had but weeks to live, these treatments, once she started them, she was getting up in the morning with energy. She would get up and she would come upstairs and she'd eat breakfast, and she had an appetite, and she was getting some color in her cheeks, and she was getting a bit of a better attitude about stuff. And She was sleeping better. She was having better sleeping patterns. Just small changes, but big changes, and in a small amount of time. And essentially, we were unable to continue with the treatments as often as we would have preferred, because it was quite a cost. We were paying about, depending on the treatments and what her ND wanted her to take and prescribe for her, it could have been $600 to $800 to $1,000 a week. So we don't have that money, that kind of disposable money. So luckily we were fortunate enough to have family and friends that, rallied and put together, a fundraiser. When the fundraiser was being put together, Tamarra unfortunately had passed away the week going into the date that the fundraiser was scheduled for. So the fundraiser was scheduled for Saturday the 27th, and she passed away November 23rd. So that's, the finances were a huge part in not being able to do it as aggressive and as consistent as we would have liked to have done. Not that we believed that she could be saved, but maybe it could have prolonged her life.
Here at the college, we do mostly intravenous vitamin C therapy. The reason for that is that we use 100% evidence-based protocols. And there's quite a lot of research that's been done over the years, specifically with respect to intravenous vitamin C therapy. We do tailor the dose of high-dose vitamin C to the patients based on a blood level that we read pre and post infusion. But that's sort of what we focus on here. We do mostly high-dose vitamin C. Sometimes we'll do Myers cocktail infusions, which is basically just like an intravenous multivitamin and mineral supplement. It's not high-dose vitamin C that we're giving in that formula, but it's basically like getting your multivitamin through the vein as opposed to taking it orally. Yes, so the cost of treatments is a consistent hurdle for patients. Not everyone can afford naturopathic cancer treatments. Intravenous therapies are quite costly, especially if a patient's doing them more than twice or even 3 times a week. The cost certainly does add up. Other injectable therapies do typically tend to be a little bit more on the expensive side. Not compared to conventional drugs, but because they're paying out of their own pocket most of the time, then this is sometimes a hurdle. Extended healthcare plans do cover naturopathic therapies. Most plans do have a section that covers naturopathic therapies, but they're not completely covered for their treatments. So oral therapies are never covered. So these are the nutraceuticals or the natural health products that we might have a patient consume on a daily basis for long periods of time. They're not covered at all for those. But they are covered for consultations, and often there is a section for acupuncture treatments as well under the extended healthcare plans.
We work with the College of Naturopathic Medicine, and they help us, give us the evidence and the literature and the support that we need from their professional end, and then we act as a tool to provide financial assistance and to provide awareness and to do informational videos like this, and to be in touch with these people. And another part that that TCF wants to get involved with is funding research, further research for naturopathic oncology or pediatric oncology, and basically non-invasive treatments. It can still be part of the medical world, but we want to support and research non-invasive therapies with limited to trying to keep the side effects as limited as possible. And this is all done in memory of my daughter and keeping her memory alive, and trying to help families and children going forward, and take a little bit of the pressure off of our healthcare system to offset and say, hey, we want to help. We want to do our part. We want to help, and that's who we are, and that's why we're here, and we just want to do as much as we possibly can.